Did anybody have any questions regarding that? Then I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I'll do a motion.
All those in favor? And it's unanimous. All right, looks like we've got a lengthy regular agenda here. Actually, we have just one item on this one. Okay, we're going to move on to the regular agenda, item A. Consideration of possible action to approve and forward with a recommendation to City Council a request for a one-year extension for a specific use permit issued under ordinance number 2020-038. Jessica?
This is a SUP that was approved in January of last year for hotel use. You recommended approval of this to council, and council approved that. It was adopted on January 19th, 2021. The zoning ordinance allows a one-year extension that can be requested by the applicant. The applicant has made such requests to allow 1 year. There have been some conversations that have come up asking sort of where they are in this process. It's my understanding that they're in the process of preparing a plat to go forward. So it's not just asking for the 1 year extension and then nothing's going to happen. There is something on the horizon.
Is there a time frame on? I mean, they're asking for a year, but whether like starting next week or?
No, I don't think it'll be anything that soon. The ordinance, as it's written, requires that there be some sort of like substantial completion by the end of that 1 year or an establishment of the use. So in a year's time, there should be some substantial completion that they wouldn't be in violation of the ordinance.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Do they need to have any permission from the drainage district or any other department that which can be expired within 1 year, or they have to redo it again, or
So anything having to do with drainage is going to be submitted with their construction with the infrastructure plans for the site. That comes along with the plat. So before we can approve a plat, the city engineer approves those plan sets, and then that's when the recommendation would be made to approve it. Once the plat's approved, then they'll get their permits. They go construct on site as they would do at the same time with the building construction plans.
okay, very good, thanks.
Well, if we don't have any other questions, comments, looking for a motion?
Make a motion that we, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve and forward
I'm
a
sorry.
recommendation to City Council.
I was like, where am I? Okay, I make a motion, we consideration and approval and forward with recommendation to City Council, the request for a 1 year extension for a specific use permit issued under ordinance number 2020-0-38.
I will second that motion.
All those in favor? All right, it's unanimous. All right, next we've got quite a bit. Bobby, are we able to put all the Meridiana ones together?
If no one has any objections, you can definitely group them together and do them all in one motion.
Do we vote on lumping them together?
You don't have,
Or-
well, you can just say as the chair, I'd like to entertain taking these, if no one has any objections, the
Oh, okay.
following
Okay.
all together. And if nobody has any objections, then you can make one motion to vote. Just be real specific about the ones you're including in that mass.
Okay. Yeah. Did you want to present to us what, or should we vote to lump them first? Okay.
I can I give them a quick presentation on these items? So this is regarding items regular agenda B through M on the agenda. Item B, which is the final plat for Meridiana Pursley Boulevard Phase 7. Staff is not recommending approval because we don't have an approved set of construction plans for that. Items C through M, those are conditional approvals. Some vary with one condition, two condition. The bulk of the preliminary plat conditions have to do with updating the date in the title block. If you give me a moment, I can give you what one of those other conditions is. Let's see. Meridiana Units 8 and 9 open space has an additional condition with the labeling of Uzzell Road. Item F, which is preliminary plat for Meridiana Inspiration Way Phase 3, has an additional condition that is a changing of the street name from East Inspiration Way to South Inspiration Way. Item number H, which is preliminary plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve W, also has an additional condition that access is put on the plat for Reserve W as a use restriction in the table reserve. Okay, I think that covers them.
Jessica, I think there's one more on C. It was about the structure.
Thank you, Kyle.
That's okay.
I'm getting there.
Sorry about that.
That it's okay. There's a lot. Yes, and on, as Kyle mentioned, on item C, which is a final plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve T, Phase 2, there's one condition. This one has nothing to do with updating the date in the title block, but this says to add a plat note stating that the existing structure that's located on Meridiana Detention Reserve T, Phase 2 final plat will be removed by March 31st of 2022. Previously, the condition had been put from January 31st of 2022. The developer has informed us they won't be able to make it to that date, so they've requested this note be put on there to get them in compliance. So to sum up, items C through M all have at least one condition of approval, and that is to update the date in the title block. The ones that I went out and called the additional ones, which I think were 3, are additional, and then this one with just 1. So that's how staff would like to recommend approval with the conditions to you all.
Jessica, is B recommended for, not recommended for approval, though?
B is not recommended for approval. Thank you, Bobby.
We should probably keep that one, vote on that one separately, and then vote on C through M might be easier, since one's arguably not going to be approved. The other one would be approved with conditions. If that's how the vote goes, it would make it easier if you keep them all.
Agree.
What was the issue with B? Oh, to make it two.
No. B is a recommendation not to approve because we don't have a set of approved construction plans by the city
Oh,
engineer.
that was the plans, that's right, okay. Okay, so we're gonna vote on item B, consideration of possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to city council, final plat for Meridiana Pursley Boulevard, Phase 7.
I can second that.
All those in favor of the motion on the table? All those against? Okay. All right, and if nobody has any objections, I'd like to put together C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and M. Okay. C being final plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve T, Phase 2. D being preliminary plat for Meridiana Units 8 and 9 open space. E being preliminary plat for Meridiana Inspiration Way, Phase 2. Christy, would you like to read the next ones?
Sure. F is preliminary plat for Meridiana Inspiration Way Phase 3. G is consideration, do you have to read just that sentence, right?
Yeah.
Preliminary plat for Meridiana Section 25A. H is preliminary plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve W. I is preliminary plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve X. J is the preliminary plat for Meridiana Section 10A. K is the preliminary plat for Meridiana Section 7 East. L is the preliminary plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve Y. And M is the preliminary plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve Z Phase 1. That's a good day for you, Brad.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, questions, concerns? Jessica's already kind of gone over these items. Yeah.
The small changes.
So do I have a motion?
I will give you a motion to approve with the
Staff recommendations?
staff recommendations. Thank you.
As
for-
conditions?
As conditions.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right. The ayes have it, is that what you say? Or the, skip over some pages here. Yes, hold on, where was I? Oh, here we go. I was trying to flip through and it was already flipped. Okay, we have to do this one, I think, by itself since it's Pomona. Do you want to go ahead and read that one?
Number N, consideration and possible action to approve final plat for Pomona Lake E and H, being a subdivision of 43.105 acres of land located in the ACH and BRR Company Survey, Section 89, Abstract 417, Brazoria County, Texas, being a portion of lots 5, 6, 7, and 15 through 20 of Section 89 of the Allison Ritchie Gulf Coast Home Company, part of the Suburban Gardens, a subdivision of record in Volume 2, page 98, plat records of Brazoria County, Texas.
Jessica, what you got for us?
Staff is not recommending approval of the Pomona Lake E and H final plat. It doesn't meet the following subsections of the subdivision ordinance or the Pomona Development Agreement with: 1, we need the land surveyor's signature; 2, labeling Croy Memorial Park, which is located outside the plat boundary. It's the Croy Park Place minor plat recreation file number; labeling the point of beginning; labeling Croy Parkway on the face of the plat; labeling the front building line for reserves B, D, E, F, and G; adding the Pomona 8th Development Agreement to General Note number 20, providing approved construction plans, and lastly, providing DD4, Drainage District 4's signature upon final submittal.
There's quite a few. Any questions, concerns? Nope. Motions?
I can give you a motion to approve.
All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? All right. 0, 5 of us today? Okay, I've made too many notes on here now.
These are all.
Okay, so now all the rest from O to FF, is that what? Yeah, O to FF. If nobody objects, are y'all okay with putting all those together? Oh. Okay, since O is a recommendation, let's do that one separate. All right, so we will do O, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council master plan for Valencia, being 438.4 acres of land in Manvel, Texas. All right, Jessica, what you got?
So this is the first time you've seen a master plan come through the process since we did a subdivision ordinance amendment back in 2019. So this master plan process has some requirements that we need in order to give you an approval on that. A part of the process with a master plan is this body makes a recommendation where council ultimately makes a decision just on the master plan. So the items that'll come up with any preliminary plating or final plating in the future go according to the subdivision ordinance as it exists now. So staff isn't recommending approval of the Valencia master plan for 10 reasons. Number 1, all lands must be dedicated in the first phase of development for public right-of-way, public park land, public use, trails, or school site purposes. Developments that are 100 acres or more shall provide a water regionalization plan, including interconnections with adjacent properties are subject to review and approval by the city. Developments with more than 100 acres, a detailed hydraulic analysis utilizing the HEC HMS, HEC RAS flood hydrograph method are required. Provide a traffic study. Label the Valencia development in the vicinity map. Label the master plan with sheet 1 of 2 and sheet 2 of 2. Provide all signatures on sheet 2 for the Valencia master plan. State the correct name in the PD&Z signature block. It should state Valencia master plan rather than Valencia. PD&Z makes a recommendation on a master plan. Provide the statement in the PD&Z signature block. And then also provide a signature, city council signature block for only one signature.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a question or a statement?
I turned it on.
My name is,
I turned it on.
it's green right now. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
My name is Matt Stoops. I'm with LJA Engineering. We're the applicant for this master plan. There's a couple of things I wanted to point out on this. There's a couple of different points I want to point out. First of all, number one, it says all lands must be dedicated in the first phase of development for public right-of-way, public parkland, public use trails, or school site purposes. Specifically with a school site, the PUD specifically states that we don't have to dedicate the school site right off the bat because it is you can convert it to residential uses should the school district decide not to purchase it. So because of that, we don't want to plat the school site now. We're in talks with the school district. They have said they are interested in doing it, but we haven't come to any final agreement on that. So because of that, we don't want to plat it and then have to replat it. Other than that, we're platting all the major rights of ways. Those are some subsequent agenda items. We're platting all the major thoroughfares and collector roads as required by the utility agreement and the 380 agreement. So for number one, the school site is the only thing that's outstanding, and that we've got something in the PUD that's specifically stating that we don't need to do that immediately. The second item is for developments, talking about the water regionalization plan. The city is updating their water regionalization plan right now, and it's kind of hard for us to produce this document, this water regionalization plan, without the city's plan being up to date as well. So that's kind of hard for us to do in this initial phase. We're more than happy to provide that once the city has completed their water regionalization plan, but until the city updates theirs, we can't do ours. As far as the detailed hydrological analysis, we understand it'll be required, but we don't have to provide it initially. We're only required to provide a preliminary drainage plan at this point. As far as the traffic study, we went into a great amount of detail in the 380 agreement, the utility agreement, the PUD, with regards to road right-of-way widths, paving dimensions, trails, all sorts of other things. So I'm not real sure what a traffic study would provide in addition to what we've already agreed to and provided to the city. I'm not real sure what a traffic study would give you other than you have to provide a stop sign at some location or something like that, which again, at a preliminary stage, there's no information. It doesn't impact anything. I would understand if this project was partially constructed or something like that, but at this stage, it seems kind of silly. The other things are really just minor housekeeping things. They're things that normally would be listed on a thing. It would be a conditional of approval, and we have no problem with providing any of the information, numbers 5 through 10. That's housekeeping, and we're more than happy to do any of those. But those first 4 items, to us, seem to be a bit.
Were these items that you submitted, there were items that were requested, and then you submitted them?
No, we did not submit again, the water regionalization plan, we can't do it until the city does their update. For the detailed hydrological analysis, we're working on a drainage plan right now, but there's no way to produce that at the moment. And the traffic study, as I said, we've already given all of the details that would normally be provided in the traffic study. We've already agreed to all that as part of the PUD, the 380 agreement, and the utility agreement. what else a traffic study would provide, but besides what we've already provided in writing and is approved by council.
Jessica, do you have any additional information to add?
I don't know if Dan wants to maybe speak to some of the issues with the drainage. In regards to the school site purposes for plating, we have a similar development that there was some public exchange of land between the city and the developer, and when that development sort of came up later down the road, everything exchanged hands. So replatting is always a possibility, is always on the table, that it could be platted. And then if it's platted for a school site, great. If it's something that Valencia retains, then it could be replatted into that section or however that we look. So I don't see why, even though a school site's needed there, so the idea of the master plan is to capture all these things that we need as part of a community and get it plotted out. Schools, the roads have been done, and the idea that is behind that in the ordinance is that if something were to happen tomorrow, and we're not saying anything will happen, the city has those rights of way in place that we're able to go in, and if need be, we go in and construct it, and we've got that sort of infrastructure in place for our development, so.
I would just add, so on the drainage aspect, what we saw from Manvel Town Center, that is the single most important thing at the master plan level. At least it was for them, because they ended up needing twice as much detention as they would have normally thought. I mean, tremendous amount. I mean, it was over an acre foot per acre. And if that's the case, then this, pretend like it is. I mean, I hope to God it's not. Hopefully this, pretty picture works, but it's just that right now. If it's not based on numbers, then who knows if those ponds are the right size or not. So we've never gone to the next step without having the master drainage study done. So that one component is really the most important one, I think, to us. I would presume the drainage district too. I don't know if they've presented to them yet or not, but they haven't to us yet.
Yeah, Jessica, go ahead.
And the master plan also to give you all a background on what it says in that section. The master plan allows the approval by council of all the configuration and everything you see, because it allows that applicant to then take that information and do a final plat. It allows you to skip the whole step of a preliminary plat because you've done all the work and the detail to preliminarily say, yes, this works, it's feasible, now go and here are the plans, go and build, and then we'll approve it. The developer has,
Show me where it is in the ordinance, 'cause I couldn't find it. That said, that if we got the master plan approved, we could just skip right to final plat. Because the final plat section of the ordinance specifically states you have to have a preliminary plat approved in order to do a final plat.
this is in the master plan section.
I understand that, but in the final plat section of the ordinance, it specifically states that you have to have an approved preliminary plat in order to prepare a final plat. So I'm not sure how you skip the preliminary plat process. I didn't see anything that was clearly stating that if you submitted a master plan, you could skip the preliminary plat process and go straight to final plat. Maybe I missed something, but in researching everything in detail, the final plat portion of the ordinance specifically states, and I don't know the section off the top of my head, but I do remember there was a section that specifically stated that you had to have an approved preliminary plat in order to submit a final plat.
So not every development is required to do a master plan. So there's that. For the master plan on section 6239A, it says where the proposed subdivision constitutes a tract or tracts consisting of a minimum of 50 acres or more in size, and which is intended to be subsequently subdivided as additional units of the same subdivision, a master plan shall be submitted. The master plan shall show the proposed layout of the streets, blocks, public park lands, school site purposes, and drainage of the entire area. The overall layout, if approved by the council after recommendation by the planning commission, shall attach and file with a copy of the approved subdivision plat in the permanent files of the city. Thereafter, fractional final plats of subsequent units of such subdivision may be submitted, provided no significant changes are made to the master plan. Any request for change to the master plan must be submitted according to the procedures described in the preliminary plat section.
So how do you overcome the preliminary plat, the final plat portion of the subdivision ordinance?
Honestly, I would have to go back and do some research because this is the first time this information is being brought before us.
Actually, if you look back, the master plan replaced the master preliminary plat section. And the master preliminary plat in the previous version of the city subdivision ordinance allowed to go straight from master preliminary plat to a final plat. The master plan is that same step.
But it's not clear in the ordinance language that
That's exactly what it was intended for. And then the section in there says, thereafter, fractional final plats of subsequent units may be submitted, provided no significant changes. So if you don't make any changes to the final plat, or to the final plan, you can go straight to the final plats. I would think it would be good because you would skip an entire step and you wouldn't have to pay for the preliminary plats for every one of those sections. You'd pay
Except
for one final plat.
we work out so many details at the preliminary plat level to make sure that the construction plans don't have any problems, because if you were just to do a master plan and then go straight to construction plans, it's going to create massive headaches when you're creating construction plans, because you haven't looked at anything in enough detail yet.
That's why when you
why
do
we
the
do the
master
preliminary
plan, you would do that.
But there's nothing in the master plan requirements that take anything to a plat level, a preliminary plat level.
That's the intent of it. Like I
It's not
said,
spelled out
it
that way.
replaced the master preliminary plat. This section was the master preliminary plat in the previous version of the city subdivision ordinance. That's what it was there for.
I understand what you're saying the intent is. It's not written that way, though.
I would interpret it would be though. But ultimately, it's up to the zoning ordinance, the zoning official.
I have a question.
Yes.
Based on, let's just say we're not worried by the master plan, the district, and the water, and the water thing, you know, you said all this other stuff is housekeeping. But as detailed as you're asking, you know, us to be on that, why haven't you submitted those? You just keep saying they're housekeeping issues.
What, the 5 through 10? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, that and just providing letters of no objections, I mean, it just,
Where's the,
I think that's
objections.
8, 9, 10, 11.
well, I'm sorry, on the master plan?
No, I'm talking about on her recommendation of things that are missing from the plan in itself is enough to really deny it. But if you took off the master, if you're not gonna, you know, you're saying you can't get the water to us, you can't get the drainage to us, and you have questions about the master plan, correct?
I don't have questions about the master plan, I'm sorry.
Okay, I must have been listening to the wrong thing, but I mean,
Okay, yeah, I mean, there's, the number 5 is label the Valencia Development, the vicinity map. Number 6 is label master plan sheet 1 of 2, 2 of 2. Number 7, in other words, these are really minor text housekeeping issues. The letter of no objection, I don't see that in the staff report I printed out. I don't see that.
oh, I'm sorry.
Is that for O or was that for P? Those recommendations?
I'm sorry, is there something I'm missing on the staff report I have?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're correct. I mean, that's fine. I apologize.
Okay.
But,
I
but it
was
just,
making sure I was missing something.
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to remind the commission, under this new 30-day shot clock rule, I think we're going to probably see, especially over holidays, when things are submitted, and ordinarily there would be a lot of time for back and forth and for the applicant to basically maybe withdraw their preliminary plat or their plan to be able to work some of this out under the 30-day shot clock. We are, kind of obligated to vote on it and provide reasons. And a lot of these things, of his responses or rebuttals, might be best done in responding to our reasons, our conditions, or our reasons for denial, whatever they might be. And that's what the new shot clock's kind of designed to do. So providing a vote would be, accompanied with either conditions for approval or reasons for denial that they could respond to. And going back and forth, it might make this easier than trying to, work it out on the spot, because, like I said, with the 30-day shot clock rule, things are going to be coming in a lot faster without the usual time we've had before, the luxury of being able to work with the developers on a little bit more timely. So I recommend, that might be one way to approach this, is to go ahead and vote and then let the back and forth be through the staff level,
Staff and
the
developer.
reasons for denial or conditions for approval.
Can you explain to me Jessica, the school part of it? So he's basically saying he doesn't want to do it as a school because there's no agreement yet. So he'd rather replat it as a school later, I'm guessing, and you're saying the opposite.
So Alvin ISD doesn't own the property yet, so the developer still owns the property. It's shown on the land plan that was adopted in the PUD. So it's a school site, so we would like to get that platted. So yes, in the PUD or whichever one of the agreements we have, it does say that if the school goes away and it's not in this location, it gives them the right to be able to develop it as single-family lots or what else part of the development. I was just giving case in point an example specifically with the Meridiana development. We had an agreement with that stated that we had to have a park site. Well, before Meridiana ever came in and started platting, we're talking like 2009 or so, they went in and they platted what they called a Manvel interim park site. They finally came in with their development. They platted the park site where it went, so that went away. So now they vacated the plat. When they vacated the plat, now it became part of an area where that park is now their detention. So that's that process they went to ensure that there would be a park there. So in this scenario, it ensures that we've got a spot for the school. And like I said, the master plan says we're gonna have all these things that are part of the development. We're gonna have them up front to begin with, and then after, however the developer, sees to, carve up the land and have the lots in there such. But like I said, we do kind of have an example already of replat. It's a replat, or you vacate the plat or whatever, however you want to go about it.
Any more questions, comments? There were 10 total conditions? And
Yes, ma'am.
and you said you did submit a traffic study?
No, I'm questioning the reason for submitting a traffic study because of all the details that we provided in the various agreements that we did to get to this point.
The details are merely what's reflected in the city's thoroughfare plan as far as how wide the streets are going to be, which is not a traffic study.
Actually, the only thing that's different than what's in the city's thoroughfare plan is a reduction in Charlotte's width, I think.
We stipulated the right-of-way widths for all those
And
collective.
also there was a reduction in the size of the sidewalks. So they were reductions in things that were required in the city's thoroughfare plan.
Yes.
There wasn't anything in addition to those. It was actually less than what was required by the city's thoroughfare plan. The city gave on everything, and the developer, to the benefit of the developer.
Are you opposed to having a traffic study,
No,
or?
we can provide a traffic study. It's just, it seems, the purpose of a traffic study is to confirm that the width is correct and so forth. My thing is that's all been established what that is. That's the purpose of a traffic study, is to say the width of a roadway should be X, the paving width should be Y, et cetera. We've already established that with the council approving the
thoroughfare
various
plan.
agreements.
Okay.
Doesn't the traffic study measure speed and how many cars go by?
That is part of it usually, yeah.
They do. We've done preliminary traffic. Well, actually, we've done traffic studies for the Manvel City Center to see what those numbers would be like. Traffic studies, they do look at widths of road, but they also look at other things, like if a de-acceleration lane may be needed within that right-of-way, or an additional turn. So you may have four lanes, but do, both of them turn right? And you have the option to go straight in one. So things like that, it also looks at too, is how traffic is moving, not necessarily just the width.
Sort of the phased, if it's going to be a four-way stop until, traffic counts hit X, and then it's going to become a signalized intersection, or do we need to have a right turn only at some point as well? So it still may all fit within the right-of-way width that's been identified, but it's the actual traffic control, what is going to happen. Meridiana did the same thing, and, we've been talking about the Jordan intersection, and they just did an updated traffic study because they're wanting to put a school down there. So, okay, well, how is that going to affect the area around it? So it's not necessarily, since this is sort of undeveloped areas, it's not traffic counts per se, because it's across a pasture. It'd be pretty easy to do
Right.
traffic count right now, but it's more anticipating what's going to happen, what kind of loads do we need to expect. So that's where we're coming from. Really more just to bolster what, yes, we've all agreed conceptually of what this stuff should look like. Now let's shore this up in case anybody ever asks, or, we can plan accordingly that there's going to be, 3 signals on Pollard, or hopefully not, but, that's the rationale behind it.
Right.
Well, one other thing I do want to just point out, just as a detail, is with regards to the traffic study, the ordinance section 62-38 requires a traffic study for development along major thoroughfares. So we would be required the traffic study would address Pollard, but does not have to address, other than at the intersections, does not have to address Charlotte or Dogwood. So it's just for Pollard and Del Bello, which are the other.
Those are major thoroughfares also.
No, they're not. They're collector roads. They're listed as collectors in the PUD. They're listed as collectors on the major thoroughfare plan.
They're on the major thoroughfare plan.
Just because a roadway is on the major thoroughfare plan doesn't mean it's a major thoroughfare. It's listed as a collector road on both the major thoroughfare plan and in the PUD document.
So you're saying that we shouldn't look at traffic on an 80-foot wide road?
I'm saying that the traffic study that you're requiring for the major thoroughfare plan definitely can address Pollard and Del Bello and the intersections that occur on that, but isn't required to address Dogwood or Charlotte.
So staff has been asking for those and other developments, even with
pointing out what your
Pomona.
ordinance says. I'm just pointing.
We've been asking for those.
I could just point out, our comment 4 says provide a traffic study. That's all it says. So we can get into the details later. It says a traffic study. We don't have a traffic study at all.
Okay, so we're missing 10 items, basically, right?
Oh, let me add one thing regarding the traffic study. I'm not very familiar with actually how deep it is. I'm like
I'm not a
basic.
traffic engineer,
Okay.
I'm a
Definitely.
planner, but
Of course.
I'll answer what questions I can.
So I live in Atascadero Drive, and there is one intersection over there with the Palm Villas. So if anybody read a Radio Palm, maybe you're familiar with this. They have only stop sign on only one side. I can tell you right now that every day I'm praying that nobody have an accident over there. So I'm pretty sure actually when this thing was done, I'm pretty sure the study wasn't done maybe, this area, maybe. So if this is the case, this is a scenario like we're talking about, the importance of the traffic study, I'm 110% on that need to be done.
I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done at all. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying
I'm like, this is not a major thoroughfare actually. Basically, that's like 2 roads there. And one side you have a stop sign, other side is not. The one is going directly through.
You're just wanting to avoid that happening again,
Exactly.
is what you're saying. Okay.
Exactly. I'm just giving example.
I'm not disagreeing
got you.
with the idea that a traffic study needs to be done to determine all these details. What I'm saying is for the master plan level, that detail isn't warranted. Or we've provided plenty of detail at the master plan level, the broad-based master plan level. We provided all that detail in the 380 agreement, the utility agreement, and the PUD. That, the level of detail you're discussing, don't disagree about one bit. It is absolutely necessary, but that's more for a construction plan. that's not necessarily for a master plan, which is more of a broad-based overall view of the project.
Okay, so we keep kind of going round in circles. I feel like you have an idea of what needs to get done, and and staff has an idea of what needs to get done. So, any other questions, comments, concerns, and motions?
I can give you a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion on the table? All those opposed? And that's 0-5.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, if nobody objects, I'd like to put together items P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, E, and F, F. Christine, do you want to, you just, or do you want to, yes, go ahead and, Jessica, give us the details on these items.
So items P through FF, staff is not recommending approval of these for various items and reasons of those that are listed in the staff reports. Most notably, comments that run throughout, same comments that run throughout the preliminary plats is submitting a preliminary drainage plan, approvals from the drainage district, lots of comments on drainage, as we talked about previously, with 100 acres of development. We've got a lot of right-of-ways, county right-of-ways, which are 40 feet or 20 feet. Those will need to be abandoned or constructed. Letters of no objections from different entities.
Letters of what?
Letters of no objection from different
Oh.
from different entities. So those pretty much go throughout. I won't maybe necessarily bore you with all of these details. We have certain areas and with some of the plats where we require right-of-way dedication. That would be from Chocolate Bayou. That hasn't been provided, which also goes back with the drainage. And then lastly, the amount of sections that have been provided for approval within the Valencia development exceed what we allow or could allow as far as the connections. The development agreement reserved 410 connections for upfront, and we're beyond. Those would be the utility connections for sewer. So we're at a point where if we combine all of the number of lots that we have been submitted through sections 1 through 9, we've exceeded 410 connections that have been reserved. So those are some of the big items as far as, like I said, traffic studies, preliminary drainage plans, drainage district approvals, dedications of right-of-way for Chocolate Bayou and such. So these aren't necessarily labeling issues that we just have on the plat where we could do conditions of approval.
Okay.
They're all contingent upon the master plan being approved as well, right? So even
Yeah.
if we didn't have condition 1, your last action item just sort of.
Right.
Thank you for Dan. So, with this even going to council next week without the master plan approval, the plats can't be approved either, in addition to the few reasons that I stated.
And I'm so sorry. What was your name again?
Matt Stoops.
Matt Stoops. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead and.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we lack at this moment is the preliminary drainage plan. I have no disagreement on that. And that's something we're working on, and we will provide. I understand we're going to get denied on these plats, that's fine. But there's a couple of things I did want to point out, because we're not required to provide it at this time. We're required to do different things. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go through every plat, don't worry. I'm going to point out a couple of things, one with street dedication plat, and then the other one is with Section 6 plat. These are common, just like Jessica said, these are common comments made on all these, and I just want to point out a couple of things. Number one, not number one, rather, if you look at the Pollard, Charlotte, Dogwood Avenue Street Dedication Preliminary Plat, which I think is the next item on the agenda, would that be P? Mike, do I have that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Again, number one, we don't disagree at all. Preliminary drainage plan, we know we have to provide that. We're working on it. Number two says provide drainage district approval of preliminary drainage plan. At the preliminary plat level, we don't have to provide approval. What we do have to provide is that we've submitted it to the drainage district. So a clarification on that. We don't have to provide approval of the drainage plan. We do have to provide proof that we've submitted it. That's what we've done on Pomona, is we show that we've submitted it to the drainage district. We don't have to provide approval for the preliminary plat. Let's see. With regards to numbers 8 through 12 on this, where it talks about provide letters of no objections for the 20-foot drainage easement, provide no objection letter for the 60-foot canal easement, et cetera, so forth and so on. All we have to do for the preliminary plat is provide proof that we have requested the letter of no objection. We don't actually have to provide the letter of no objection.
And when you say we don't have to, we're not required to.
I'm talking about
We're-
what the ordinance says we have to do.
Okay,
That's
okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, what I'm saying here is what I'm saying is this is what the ordinance and/or the preliminary plat checklist says. These are things you got.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I just was wondering where you were referencing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's where I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
And on Section 6, similar types of things, where it talks about provide the drainage district approval of the preliminary drainage plan. We don't have to provide approval. We have to provide proof that we have submitted to the drainage district, but not that we have full approval of the drainage plan. So just some items I wanted to.
May I make a comment on that?
Yes, go ahead, Jessica.
We requested the signature because you put it on a plat.
Requested
We requested a signature for approval of those because you put a signature block on every preliminary plat for the drainage district. So if you're gonna put a signature block, even though we only require proof, don't put it on there. So that's why you're getting that comment about that.
Okay, well, you could have simply said either or, take it off or provide it.
Well, I mean, you've done a lot of plats in Pomona. We made that comment before. I thought maybe you would know.
I have a question. Because there's quite a bit of items. Like we got into GGFF and so when was all this submitted and when were you made aware of all these items before today?
We submitted, let me get my time frames right. I believe we submitted December 12th or 10th or 13th, something in that nature, I don't recall.
Okay.
Somewhere around then. We got comments back from staff, I want to say on the 20th,
Okay.
22nd, somewhere in that time frame. It may have been before that, and if I've got that date wrong, Jessica, I do apologize. But we resubmitted everything, I want to say on the, no, I take that back. We got comments on the 17th. Is that correct? Okay. We
I
got
mean,
comments
I
on the
guess I'm just trying to
17th.
figure out,
we
was there
resub-
enough time for you to, see everything that needed to be done to, I guess, withdraw this and then fix the items? Or, it's just, we've never seen an agenda this long before. So I'm just curious, like, did you have enough time to like, oh, wow, we have a lot. Okay, let's withdraw it and, fix these items and then come back? Or if this was like, you just got this today type of thing. So I was just trying to.
No, I understand what you're saying, yeah.
Okay.
No, we got comments back from staff on the 17th. We responded back, I believe, on the 22nd, is what I'm
The 23rd.
And was the response, we're gonna fix it, or we're gonna,
We responded
still
back
want
in
it to-
detail. We responded back in detail to every single comment.
One of the things is we had a conversation with Russ Bynum about this. Without the master plan being approved, none of these could be approved anyway.
right,
And we suggested he withdraw them, and he decided not to. So
okay.
E- even if they addressed everything in here, without the approval of the master plan first, you can't approve them.
Right,
We suggested that.
We don't want to discuss as much as we can so that whenever they resubmit them, we're not in the same.
right, right. I was just trying to figure out how they all ended up on here, so I guess that's,
Well, and we're not sure why, but instead of, staff called Russ and talked to Russ rather than us on some of these comments, which was a little strange for us. We're not sure why, because anytime we've ever submitted plats before, staff contacts us to discuss things, but they bypassed us for some reason. We're not sure why.
If you don't want us to talk to Russ, we'll be happy not to do that.
I didn't say that at all. I just
That's
said Russ was confused why he was getting the call first.
Because you submitted 20-something plats that could not be approved because the master plan had not been approved first. That's the first step.
It was honestly a courtesy and out of respect for us that we wanted to get ahead of sending out the comments and let him know we had some legitimate issues with it, which is why we did that. We don't typically do that, but
thank you, Matt. Okay. Questions, comments? All right, so we need to, so we don't have any objections to lumping OO through FF? Was it FF, GG? Yeah.
Which one?
FF. Oh, yes, you're right. Sorry, P through FF. Okay. Christine, would you mind reading P through R? And you don't have to read the whole thing, Bobby
Read
said.
more if you don't feel like talking.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Thanks. I just don't want to
Stop
start
it.
coughing.
I know, like 50 pages. How about I'll go to W, I mean Y, and did one of y'all?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me go. All right, number P, the preliminary plat for Pollard Boulevard, Charlotte Street, and Dogwood Avenue Street dedication. Letter Q, preliminary plat for Del Bello Boulevard Street dedication. Letter R, preliminary plat for Valencia Lift Station. S, I'm just gonna go that way. Preliminary plat for Valencia Detention Lake A. T, preliminary plat for Valencia Drill Site and Detention Lake B. U, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 1. V, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 2. W, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 3. X, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 4.
Y, preliminary plat for Valencia Detention Lake D. Z, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 9. AA, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 8. BB, preliminary plat for Valencia Detention Lake C. CC, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 5. DD, preliminary plat for Valencia Lakes E and F. EE, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 6. And FF, preliminary plat for Valencia Section 7.
All right. Thank you all so much for helping me out there.
A lot.
And thank you, Bobby, for letting us know we didn't have to read the whole.
Yes, we appreciate you very much.
All right. Well, I think we've already gone through our questions, and so I'm looking for a motion.
To vote on numbers P through FF.
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion on the table? All those opposed? Okay, 0-5. And last item is GG, consideration of possible action to direct staff to provide applicants written statements of the conditions for any conditional approvals and the reason for disapproval of any plans or plats that were not approved per Texas Local Code 212.0091. Jessica?
So just give you a little bit of background on this. Previously, anytime an application has not been approved or we've had a conditional approval, staff has taken those reasons that's supported by the staff report, and we've written and made that communication per state law. It's really specific, the language, and it says the governing body. You are the governing body, and staff was writing the report. So in order to close a loophole, we've decided to add an agenda item in here that's pretty explicit that says you, the governing body, give staff permission to write that letter of communication on behalf according to Texas Local Government Code.
Thank you,
Chair, it's also an opportunity too, if you see something in the staff reports that you're not quite thinking behind as a reason, you can delete that. Or if you see something, if Kyle sees something and, oh no, this lot doesn't quite meet as Kyle can do it, we can add something to it too. So this is designed to be a little bit more formal so that you can either say, and 99% of it may just be, whatever the staff reports are, but this gives you an opportunity to add or delete as well, if you see something.
Yep. Thank you. Questions, comments? Nope. Motions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? All right, 0-5, motion carries.
5-0.
And the very last motion of the evening.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah. Second?
I'll do second.
All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Okay, everyone agrees to adjourn.